Hi, good
Good
afternoon.
morning, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Katherine Loucaidou from Canada, and she is just 20 minutes north of Toronto. So, Katherine, thank you
Yes.
for joining me today on
Well,
Be the
thank you for
Solution.
inviting me. Thank you. This is really nice.
Yeah. Well, we decided that we're going to be positive with everything that's going on and, tell the world how we are being the solution. So thank you
Yes.
for taking time out of your crazy day and joining us today.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So what's going on in your neck of the woods, Katherine?
What's going on? Well, some days I even wonder if there's anything going on in the world because our markets have gone crazy. Um, we have a seller's market now. So their buyers are out and they're buying, and prices are rising about 10% every month because we have such high demand, and really for all home types. And I have my second office, which is in the Muskoka area, which is cottage and lake country. And, because so many people, I guess, just felt confined in their homes and maybe even like sort of a little bit suffocated during that whole quarantine period that we were all home, that they're all looking to get by the lakes now and buy cottages and have a place to escape to. So that area is doing very, very well. So it's been busy. There are some days I kind of look around thinking, this may be one of our best years in real estate yet. And yet there's so much negativity going on in the world.
Right.
So I think it's just a matter of um, people still want to fulfill their goals. And I think because they were held back a little bit for March and April, May, June, and July and August are going to be very busy.
That's great. Tell me about the area with the cottages. It's very popular from all over the world.
It is. We have celebrities from all over the world that move into those. There's hundreds and hundreds of lakes up there. And we have about 3 of them, which are very well known. And the cottages can go upwards of $25 million. They're unbelievable. I'm sure Kevin O'Leary, the Shark Tank.
Sure.
So he's got a phenomenal cottage up there, and Shania Twain and so many others. And you'll see them with a baseball cap putting gas in town while they're going around, because they too have to shop and put gas in their cars and whatnot. So beautiful area. So many different lakes, but it's every price point. I mean, you can find a house up there for 600,000 and you can pay 25 million depending on what lake you're going to be on. So it's a nice varied area, and there are a lot of towns up there. It's beautiful in the summer.
I'm going to have to look that up and check it
really
out.
Really nice.
Although I won't be able to visit there anytime soon, but hopefully.
Unfortunately. Yes, in the future.
So
we can look forward to it.
Katherine, your story. How'd you get in real estate?
Oh, well.
I know you had a business before this. You had a whole nother business.
So I actually lived in Europe for 18 years. I lived on the Mediterranean island of Cyprus. I moved there right after I graduated university, and I became a teacher there. Then I got my master's degree with England, and I became a professor at the university there. And unfortunately, I got sick. I had a massive heart attack, and then I had to have triple bypass surgery. And after the surgery, I then had a stroke a week later. So that was a huge recovery and I was, as you see me today, I mean, I was healthy, and it happened to me all of a sudden when I was going to bed one night. So that just stopped me in my tracks. Your mind it gets thrown off course. You don't know how you want to proceed, because you think to yourself, well, I was told multiple times by the doctors while I was in the hospital, because I kept having heart attacks every day. They couldn't stabilize me. And at the end of the week, when I was brought into the hospital, the surgeon came up to me and he said, listen, he said, I can't help you. He said, I can't do anything unless your heart attacks stop. And I remember seeing his eyes watery, and he said, you're not going to make it to Sunday. And in your mind, you're thinking to yourself, and I thought, I was 33 years old. And I thought, there is no way life is ending now. I haven't done anything that I wanted to do. So by the grace of God, the heart attack stopped. They gave me an angiogram, realized I had 4 arteries blocked. They put me in for surgery first thing on Monday morning, and I had triple bypass. And it was a long recovery. And because when you're a young woman, they don't know what to do with you. They don't know how to treat you. You know, do we treat her like a 70-year-old man whose arteries are blocked with plaque and everything else? Which my wasn't the case. I was just that 1% that they didn't understand why this had happened. So, you know, I got home, then I had a minor stroke, went back in, they gave me higher doses of medicine, and then they just sent me home. And they said, you know, just be careful. There was no rehab, there was nothing. So that was very, very hard. I had a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old, and I'm 33, and I live in the countryside, and now I've got to figure out, how do I go back to normal after this? So that's when I started thinking, you know, I need to do things a little differently. I had a lot of fear. I didn't want to leave the house. I thought if I put the kids in my car and left the house, I could have a heart attack in the car with them. So I almost became fearful of driving anywhere. It was terrible what it does to your mind. And what's interesting is we used to get Oprah once a month in Cyprus. And it was like a treat to watch. And I was about 2-3 months into recovery, and I was just not in a good place. I was scared. I was upset all the time. You know, why did this have to happen to me? I don't understand it. And she had a show on with a lady who had gone through some kind of a trauma. And, you know, Oprah looked at her, and this lady kept saying, but I don't know why this had to happen to me. And Oprah looked at her and she said, well, why not you? You know, what makes you more special than anybody else that you shouldn't go through something as well? And you know, that kind of stuck with me. And I thought, why not me? You know, this happened. I can just keep sitting here crying about it, or I can decide that I'm going to change now. I'm going to change the way I do things. I'm going to live the way I should have been living. And so slowly I got back on my feet. I ended up having to go back and finishing out the year teaching. But what I decided at that point is I was going to open my own business over there. So I found a 5,000 square foot space, and I opened a kids' indoor playground. And I built the whole thing. We had catered parties there. My language in Greek was sort of here and there, so I still made some mistakes when I was speaking to people, but it was a business that I started from scratch. But I still had to keep teaching and doing the other jobs because it was very expensive over there when they converted to the euro. So did that for about 1.5 years, had a great time doing that business, but the teaching as well, and doing private lessons on the side. Again, it was too much for someone who had just come back from open heart
I was going to say, isn't that like more than you were already doing to begin with?
No, I had always had the 3 jobs because I always had to be teaching and private lessons and everything. But I realized at that point, you know, this is not working. I'm going to go back into the same thing again. So my husband and I talked, and he said, you know what, why don't we try Canada? He was from Cyprus. My kids had been born there, but I was not born there. So I said, I would love to go back to Toronto. So that's what we did. We got all of our ducks in order. He became a permanent resident. We managed to apply from over there, moved back here. This will be my 12th year back in Canada. Came back with nothing. We had a small down payment for a house. That was it. No jobs. I didn't know what I was going to do. I managed to get a job teaching at the university at a college here for 2 years. It was a very good school. But while I was teaching, I thought, no, I've got to do something else. I'm meant to be doing something else. I was watching television, and I had found this channel, which I found amazing, called HGTV. And I thought, oh, I could do that. So that's actually what got me to get my license, is I was watching all these real estate shows, and I thought, oh, that looks like fun. Got my license. I got it very quickly. I think because as a professor, I was used to teaching and academics. So the studying didn't seem like a very hard task for me to do. Got my license, joined REMAX, and then I was on my own. You know, what do you do now? So I just started step by step learning taking anybody's open houses. Like I would do anyone's open houses anywhere that I could drive to. And that's where it all started. And that
Wow.
would be just over 10 years ago now.
So 10 years ago. And
Yes.
and so lots of failing, lots of
The trial and error.
succeeding.
Yes.
Lots of failing again.
So much so. But I think it was good failing, because now, as the broker of record and the owner, and I train and I speak on real estate, I know what it's like to be in year one and have no one to look to and say, what do I do now? I know what it means to be dropped into a place that you know nobody, and you have no sphere of influence, and there is nobody around that you can even start your career with a relative. I know what it's like to start from scratch and build from there.
So what did you do?
So, well, I remember my first interview when I was interviewing there with the manager, and she said to me, Katherine, what is your goal? And I said, I moved into a house and I really want hardwood floors. And she said, that's your goal? And I said, really, that's my goal. I want enough money to put in hardwood floors into this new home. And so that would have been about maybe $30,000, 10 years ago, because it was the whole house. So I started, like I said, doing open houses. I did cold calling, which I hated. I think because I had been a professor and teacher for so many years, I was used to being in front of people. And although the manager at the time kept forcing me to make cold calls and go door knock, what I was really good at was open houses and talking to people. So once I started doing more of those, that's where I started getting leads coming in. I was really good at following up, because when there's no other business and you don't know anybody, that follow up with those leads is the most important part of your business. So that's what I did. I followed up like a fiend, and I would do open houses every single weekend, including leading up to the weekend, maybe Thursdays and Fridays as well. And I ended up being the rookie of the year, my first year in real estate, and I made $100,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hard work comes down to what?
Hard
Consistency.
Work. It's consistency, and it is not giving up. When one way doesn't work, move to another way. If that way doesn't work, move to the next one. There's always another way that it can be done. And people, for me, it was about the people. People, I would sit down with them and they would say, you're a little different than other people I've met before. And I'd say, because I used to tell them, I said, you know what? I nearly died and I've been given a second chance at life. My second chance at life is not to screw you over. It is to help you and guide you. And I remember my manager, he would say to me, what's your commission going to be on this house? And I'd say, I don't know, because I'm not calculating it. My job is to help these people. And if I help them in the right way, I will get paid at the end of the day. And then I'll figure out how much it is. And I stayed with that every time. And, for years until now, I will not calculate commission, because that's not the reason I'm doing it.
Well, it's about helping people, about being transparent, which is very hard for a lot of people to do for some reason.
I think a lot of, especially newer agents that get into real estate, they feel that they need to be a certain person when they're talking to people. And, they need to be a salesperson. For me, I would run away from that word. I was a professor before, where I was helping people, teaching people, educating people. Now you want me to be a salesperson? That's not who I am. So I decided that I was going to continue to educate, guide, mentor, and advise people. And funny enough, I would sit at people's kitchen tables and we'd be talking about the process of it. And they would stop and they'd look at me and they'd say, you'd make a really good teacher. And so then I would tell them, that this is what my past was. But this is what I realized was resonating with people, is that they knew that I cared. And when they know you care, they'll come back to you again and they'll refer you to other people. And I think that the care also shows when you have the face-to-face interactions with people in the open houses, because, I wasn't sitting at the kitchen table with my phone and then greeting them from the table saying, hey, I would walk up to the door. I would welcome them in. I would tell them who I was. I'd, talk a little bit about the neighborhoods. I wanted to engage with them. And so right away, I'm trying to establish a connection with them so that by the time we've gone through the whole house and come back down, we're talking like we're friends.
Right.
And
You
not
have a
like I'm trying to
rapport.
sell them. Exactly. Not trying to sell them the house. I'm trying to create a connection with them.
By
And so
asking questions.
that's it. It's all about finding out who they are. And, a lot of the time there were people who didn't want to open up because some people are very private. But in understanding that as well, and in understanding personality types, there are introverts who don't like to share information and they are a little bit closed. There's always something you can find of a commonality between you and them. You can ask them about their work. They may feel a little bit more willing to share if it's about work and not family and personal. There's always something. I could comment about their car. I could comment about their motorcycle. There are things that we can talk about. But I think that you have to learn these things. This is what I've learned over the years now, being in real estate and being a teacher and being a professor and training people, is that you have to learn how to talk to people, how to engage with people. Learn to understand people, because then you're going to be able to do your job better. Everything is about communication and engaging with people. Everything we do, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a nurse, it doesn't matter what it is. You have to learn how to engage with people properly.
Yeah. So how did you learn how to do that? Did you learn that prior to real estate? Was that what you did when you were a professor?
I taught communication. Yeah. So I had learned the theory behind how to communicate. And when I moved back to Canada, that's all they gave me to teach. I had to teach chefs how to communicate. I had to teach nurses how to communicate in the ER. And I was teaching business students how to communicate in business. So I've always been around that idea of how important communication is, but then putting it into practice in sales, which is something I had never done before. The concept was still the same. It's about the person, find a commonality, how to talk to them, how to understand what they want, what they need. Did you even ask them what they want and what they need? So many people, a lot of agents wonder why they go round and round for 50 or 100 houses. Well, it's because you never really ask them what they're truly looking for. So I found that there were so many commonalities between what I had done previously and then getting into real estate.
There certainly are.
Yeah.
It's like we have to take what we did before this to bring it into real estate.
Yeah.
And what skills, because all people do is they see the glory, but they don't know the story behind it. You just didn't pop up in real estate and you were successful in 1 year, you were, but because you had training and you taught and you had the ability to ask questions and understand that it's about the person and what their needs and desires are, not about actually just selling them something to sell them something, right?
And we have such a diverse population here in Canada. And I think that, living on that Mediterranean country, Cyprus was sort of a hub where people from around the world would all go to study. So in my classes at the university, I would have students from Russia, from China, from the Middle East, from Africa, from South Africa. They would all be in there. So in order to get communication within a classroom of 30 to 50 people, and in order for me to somehow warm up to these students, again, we have to find commonalities. How do you do that with 50 different people sitting in a room? This is what I would have to figure out very quickly. So all of these lessons that I had to figure out early on helped me later on, because now I'm just sitting at a kitchen table with 2 people and I only have to figure out how to talk to those 2 people.
Right. So now are you doing that on Zoom? Are you going?
So it's been an interesting 4 months. The first 2 months I was doing listing presentations by Zoom and people found it a little bit strange, but it was still okay. Now what we do is what I find is really important during this time is setting the expectations for buyers and sellers, because nobody's really sure, how do we proceed now with all of this going on? So first and foremost, when I get a call from someone and they say, I'd like you to come and give me a price for my home, the first thing I say is, let me just explain what this process is now and how we do it in this new world that we're in. And I tell them, I am going to show up wearing a mask. So, so I said, don't feel uncomfortable when I do, but I'm going to do it for everyone's safety. I said, I will keep a short distance between us. And if you wouldn't mind, I can either tour your home by myself, or you can show me around. It's up to you. But I said, again, our conversation, I will keep my mask on, and I'd be happy to, go through the comparable report. If you're not comfortable with that, then I'm happy just to come in, do a walk around. And when I come home, we can do a Zoom call to discuss the report and the comparables and so on. So you set the expectation, and then I give them options, because my goal at the end of the day is for them to feel comfortable. Because again, there are people who are on both ends of the spectrum. The ones who feel very comfortable with what's going on right now, and the ones who are still very scared. And because I'm high risk, because I've had open heart surgery and all of that, I too have to be careful. So, it's just setting the expectation between buyers and sellers. And I find that there's no misunderstandings when we do that.
But it was always setting the expectation too, right? We just did it in a different way.
Yeah.
And we just had to change a little bit some of the processes around so that it works for safety and health of everybody that's involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are some of the things I know you are teaching right now to your agents that is helping them to work through everything that's happening in the world? Because it's a lot, right? There's COVID, we got civil unrest in a lot of the cities, especially here in USA. We have protesting, rioting, all kinds of other stuff going on, and increasing in some cases, some of the cases in COVID.
So the first couple of weeks, it was about just taking time. I wanted them, we still met every week, but my goal was for them to take time and digest what's going on in the world, digest their new working environment, because they're now working at home with 2 or 3 kids. They had to do the online learning, which was driving them crazy, because Google Classroom isn't an easy platform for all of these parents to follow along with. But in the meantime, I had to ease off a little bit with, the prospecting and all of that, because that wasn't the time to be prospecting with people who are in a panic.
Of course.
So, for basically the first month, between March and April, for me, it was about mindset, how to stay strong, how to accept what's going on, and not worry about what's going to happen in July and August and September. It's not important what's going to happen. What's important is you getting to tomorrow, is you getting to the next day, is making bread if that's what you want to do, if it's making cookies, if that's what's going to make you feel better. But listen to podcasts. I kept emphasizing the importance of positivity. Add something of positivity into your day every single day, and do something every day that is going to lift you up. Is it painting your nails tomorrow? Is it washing your hair because you've been in a slump and you just don't feel like doing anything? But do something. If you have to, I was getting up every day and I was dressing like I was going to work, and I was putting on makeup, because I don't do well in yoga pants, no makeup, and a hair in a ponytail every single day. I've been getting up and getting dressed since I was like 13, 14 years old. I can't just stop it now. So for me, that was important in keeping me going forward. Listening to podcasts, music, all of that kind of stuff. So then we transitioned into
What podcasts are you listening to that you find inspiring?
I actually have a whole range of different ones that I listen to. So I'll listen to Joel Osteen in the mornings, maybe sometime halfway during the day. I will listen to Brian Buffini, who's a real estate coach. I find his demeanor and his lightheartedness is really easy to digest. I'll listen to Brendan Bouchard, who talks about mindset.
Mm.
You know, I'll listen
Love it.
to Brene Brown and some of the interviews that she does.
One of my favorites.
Exactly. I'll listen to Oprah, Super Soul Sundays. And, you know, she would interview pastors. And for me, it was just keeping my mind active, but in interesting places. And then I actually started listening to podcasts of expats moving to Caribbean islands. And I was like, oh, that sounds fun. You know, it was anything to take my mind off of the news and all of the drama. And what can I do to make where I am now, working from home, an interesting place again? And then I would give these suggestions to my agents as well. Why don't you? And then we have a group, a Facebook group. So in the mornings, I would say, hey, why don't you listen to this? This might lift you up. Or I would post a cartoon of something funny. It's all about finding something positive every day to keep you moving forward. Just don't stand still, because that's where the mind gets heavy. I've been there. I've been those places where I didn't want to wake up in the morning because I was too fearful. So I know what it means to be there, but I also understand how important it is to move forward to here. Because if you can get through that, you can get through anything.
Yeah. And you go back and you think about the time when you had the heart attacks and the stroke, and you take yourself back to a place where, wow, you got through all that. You can certainly get through what's going on today, right? So we pull back
Especially
from our
when
past experiences.
you're safe in your house. You know, there's nothing that's happening to you right now. As long as you take the necessary precautions, you're fine. So this, I think, you know, they say that things in your past prepare you. We don't always understand at the time when things happen, but later on in life, you'll slowly begin to understand why something has happened to you. And as each year goes on and I can get over challenges and obstacles, I now understand why I had to go through all that I didn't understand when I was 33, because it built me to who I am today, which helps me to, you know, move forward very easily. My resilience, I'd say the resilience factor has shrunken because I can bounce back very quickly now. It doesn't take long.
And that's what's really important. If you look between the, except in our business, we'll use our business as an example, Katherine. If you look at the people who do the majority of the business in the industry, there's no time to feel sorry for themselves.
No.
It's how quick can you get back up on the horse and ride down the street?
Yeah.
How quickly can that happen? Because the difference between that and everybody else is and that's taking action, right? So that's whether that's talking buyers, clients, sellers, getting listings, whatever. I mean, it's definitely that other people can say, what happened last week? That was horrible. Well, what have you done since? Nothing.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you have like 5 minutes to feel bad, maybe a half an hour.
Yeah.
But we don't
That's
have
exactly
a day. We don't have a day not to do anything.
No. And that's exactly it. And I think having lived in a European country, when I moved there, I didn't know the language. I was 22 years old. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But living there over the 18 years and learning to live in a patriarchal society, you know, where it's men have the authority, men have the strength and whatever. So coming back here and then readapting and figuring stuff out, you learn to adapt faster as well. You almost become like a chameleon because you understand, you've met so many different kinds of people there from around the world that when you move back here, it's just sort of like now an extension of who you are. You just know how to talk to people, you know, what their mannerisms are. Oh, you know, if they're from this culture, I know that this is the way that I'm expected to act, just depending on where they're from, especially from the Middle East or whatever. So all of that has helped me in what I do. So, you know, when they say that someone, you know, has become really good in what they do or very successful, there's so many building blocks under them that it took for them to get to that point. You know, I don't think that you can just get into real estate and all of a sudden you're just going to be a great success. There's so many there's so much foundation under you that built you to get to that point.
Yeah. It starts when you're 2.
It does. It does.
When you're a little person.
Yeah.
It starts from there. It starts from your experiences. People don't think that those early years are where your personality is developed. When you're under 5 years old, 5 to 7, by then your personality is fully developed.
Absolutely.
And you think back and, and then it's all the experiences that happen that, either make you resilient or not, or the opposite. And you have to be able to recognize that and know that those things happened in the way that you responded and handled them.
Mm-hmm.
Things could go in many different directions, but it's looking back and saying, oh, yeah, I get it now.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get it for 30 years, but I finally see what that meant to be.
Well, that's what they say, right? Hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah. And things are easier than people think and more complicated than people think. I know that sounds ironic, but it's true.
Well, I find that people complicate much more than needs to be complicated. Not everything has to be complicated. Things can go really easy. Real estate transactions don't have to be complicated.
No, not at all.
People usually complicate them.
Well, they bring emotion into it.
Drama.
And that's,
yeah.
So if we keep it very business-like and transparent, and what I found, and you started at the beginning to talk about this, is the communication.
Yes.
So how do we overly communicate? Because I think that that's really important right now. You use video very well. Mm-hmm. And so you train your agents to use video as well, Katherine?
I do. So, we both know that video is not an easy thing to do if you've never done it before, especially, and I would say maybe especially women, but I think it's men as well. People are very self-conscious. They are fearful of what they look like, of what they sound like. What are other people going to think of me? Because I've been doing this for 5 years now, I got over a lot of those hurdles years 1 and 2. So again, having started from scratch, like anybody else out there, I know the feeling of what it means to not want to be on a video, not wanting for people to see you. But what I had to realize is, are my objectives, are my goals bigger than my fear? And if my goal is bigger than my fear, then I need to do video. So I couldn't let the fear hold me back, because I was not going to move forward in what I needed to do to achieve my goals. So video is what really fast forwarded my business like crazy, absolute craziness. Like I would say 2 and 3 times what I was doing before. Video is what propelled me forward. I would never have believed it when I was introduced to it by someone you and I both know, John Cheplack, when I was coaching with him. He introduced it to me 5 years ago, and he said, I think this is what you need to do. And I said, you're crazy. If you want me to do video? And he's like, well, it's what I think you should do. And, I said, well, what kind of videos? He gave me a few different kinds that I should do. And I said, well, how do I do them? He's like, no, you got to figure out how you're going to do it. I'm just telling you what you need to do. And so it was a journey. I started with one, and then I started with the next. And the first market update video I did 5 years ago, it was January. I had started coaching with John in October. Between October and January is how long it took me to get up my nerve to do my first video. And it was -18 outside. It was freezing cold. And I put up my tripod and I said, okay, I wrote the numbers on a little piece of paper and I held it in my hand. And I said, I'm just going to do the market update for the areas. I did it. A week and a half later, I got a phone call from someone who said, you know what, I saw your video. He said, I've never seen anyone do videos before, because 5 years ago, very few real estate agents were doing market updates. And he said, can you come to my house and do a listing presentation. I thought, oh my God, I got a phone call from my video. Someone actually watched it. So I went to his house. I got the listing. It was the first 4-bedroom house listing for January of that year. And I said, okay, so now I'm going to do video number 2, which is the open house video. So I did an open house video. I had pneumonia the weekend that I had to do it, but I put my sunglasses on and I was like, I'm just going to record it, whatever. And I'm going to invite people to this open house. My open house was so busy in the middle of -18 in January that I ended up finding 8 prospects from that open house. I ended up making $100,000 in commissions just from that one listing and the open house and the prospects that came from it that year. And that was just 2 videos that I had done. And so then I thought, okay, yeah, this video thing is pretty good. So then I started doing business spotlights, and I was doing, what else was I doing? Areas. I would spotlight areas around town. I would do little snippets of, here's some advice if you want investment properties, all this kind of stuff, one by one. The business spotlights got me known in the community because so many people started watching those spotlights that I then got a shout out from the mayor saying, congratulations, Katherine, on doing business spotlights around town. From there, the town of the governing body in our town started calling me saying, would you do this video for us? Because you have more people watching your videos than watch ours. So then I would go along to openings of buildings that they were like actual city buildings that they would put in. They'd say, would you do a video here spotlighting this building? Or we're putting in a new store that is a charity store. For money to go back into the local business, would you come and do a video for this person? And so this is where it all started. So it's fascinating the trajectory that video can do if you remain consistent with it. And it's all about consistency, nothing else. Because when people say, but I'm not good on video, nobody's good on video unless you practice doing it over and over and over. You know, unless you practice knowing where to look into the camera so your eyes are actually looking at someone. You know, the tone of voice, how much, you know, I've had many people say, oh, you talk with your hands too much. It used to bother me. And now I just say, you know what? It's who I am. Take me for what I am. I'm being authentic. And when I go on listing presentations now, I actually went on one and the lady greeted me at the door with her phone. And she said, before you come in, can I take a selfie with you? Because I see you all the time on Facebook and I never actually thought you'd come into my house. So it's very strange how it really does become this whole other beast of a thing. You know, first you're this person who's scared to do it. Then it's almost like you're a celebrity walking into local people's homes, giving them a listing presentation because they've been watching you on video for 5 years.
Right.
But they also say to me, you're exactly as you are in your videos. They said, you know, I wasn't sure who was going to walk into my house, but you're exactly like you are in your videos. And that's authenticity. When you can be the same person and they get to know who you are. Many times they'll tell me, I feel like I already know you. And that's the epitome of building a relationship, is them feeling like they know who you are before you've even walked in the door.
So true. So how many videos do you think you've done?
I don't even know. So if we say I've done about 70 a year, maybe 75 a year for 5 years, we're at 150, 300, I guess close to maybe 400, something like that. Yeah.
And it takes time to build that momentum. I know you had some success in the beginning, but when do you think it really started to build?
By year 3 is wherever I went in town, people recognized me. A funny story is, so on Facebook, we can target who our audience is. So I would typically target, maybe 34 years and plus. So I walk into the local supermarket because I'm having an office meeting and I wanted to get a nice platter of sandwiches and things like that. So I walk up to the deli and it was an 18-year-old girl behind the counter. And I said, hi, I'd like to order a platter of sandwiches for my office for tomorrow. And so she started writing down. She said, okay, what's your name? And I said, Katherine. And so then I wrote, she said, what's your phone number? And I said, it's 416-550. And she looks up and she says 3644. And I said, how did you know that? She's like, I watch your videos. You say your phone number all the time in your videos. So that was interesting because now we're in a different segment of the market, an 18-year-old who had watched videos of mine. And then I would start getting messages from people where I would be a week or two delayed in doing a market update. And I would get a Facebook message saying, we've been waiting for your market update. We sit around the bonfire on Friday evenings and watch it. And that's when I started realizing that I had created an audience without even realizing it by remaining consistent and doing it every single month for 5 years. And that people would actually expect to receive it. So many agents think, and I was one of them. By year 2, I said, people are going to be sick of watching me. But then my audience and the views continued to grow. And by year 3, I said to myself, oh, they must be sick of watching me by now. And the views would still continue to grow. So now when I do a market update, I've had up to 90,000 views in people watching them because it just keeps growing exponentially every month.
Wow. So video doesn't work, eh?
You know what? If you just stay consistent, you're going to get comments. People love to comment. You're going to get comments and messages. I've had messages from, and I actually, when I present and I speak about video to brokerages across the US, I show the 2 messages that I received. My first message that was negative, received 3 months into doing video. And this man says to me, you should really get a new camera because your lighting is terrible. You're not really good at it. And he went on and on and on. And then he came to tell me he was a videographer and he could do a better job. And I said, you know what? I'm fine. And by the way that you explain your services is not to put me down first and then tell me who you are. We left it like that. A year later, he sends me another message saying, whoever does your camera is amazing. Your videos are incredible. I watch them every month. I think you've really improved your craft. What's interesting is my videos never changed. It was always on my phone like I am now, on a tripod with earphones. It never changed. But because he had gotten to know who I was over the year, his mindset changed about me. So I always tell people, if you don't hang in to the end of the year, you'd never get to see that wonderful second message of that person coming back to you saying, oh, you know what? I may have been wrong. We go and we take that first negative comment, we get emotional about it, and then it makes us stop what we're doing. If we just continued, magic happens. You just got to move past the uncomfortable to get to the magic.
I had some really negative things said about me over the weekend, over the last few weeks. Over the weekend. Like, some was even stupid. Like, I have too much hair.
I know.
I had no response.
There is no response to that. Just say, thank God I do. Thank God.
Thank you. But there was other ones that said some negative things, and you just have to brush it off. You have to know that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so you were a better student than me when you started, because it took me 8 months to do the video. 8 months. 8 months to start it and then continue to do it. And that was in September of last year. Now, I had done video a while back in 2006, 7, and 8, and I was ahead of all of it, but then I wasn't consistent. If only I had been consistent then.
Yes.
But I was afraid. And it was the whole thing of, oh my God, what are they going to say?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like myself on video.
I know.
Okay, well, that's what you look like. So,
and this is what I tell agents today. However you are in video, if you think that you're fat or you're too thin or whatever, when you show up at your door, they're going to see what you're like. So there's no point in hiding who you are, because the moment they see you in person, that is who you are. So it's a self-acceptance. It's getting your mind around, this is who I am.
oh, it really is.
Yeah.
But there's freedom in that.
Yes.
And there's strength in that.
Yes.
And there's I could do anything.
And it builds confidence. It builds confidence in people who may have been lacking it, because once you stick to it and you see the results that can happen from it, and that's what happened with the agents in my office. I kept telling them, let's just try it. I'm going to stand with you. I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to show you how to pace it. Don't worry about having a little paper in front of you. People don't care. And when they started seeing, and I would say to them, I want you to come back to me in a week, and I want you to tell me the comments that you've received. And they'd say, oh my God, I went to a party. People said, I didn't even know you were in real estate. And I said, you see, you've just opened up a whole new segment of the population who really weren't even thinking about you. So now you're going to put yourself in front of people all the time. And now you're going to stay top of mind. So people have to really feel and see those results to give them that motivation to move a little bit forward. But the results come. As long as you follow the formula and stay consistent, the results will come.
Yeah, they do. And it's a matter of just going blind faith, right? And know that, right? Look, they could look at you, Katherine, and see how incredible you are with video and how it does work. So if somebody's done it before you, it will work for you as well.
When I teach on video, sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's good.
When I teach on video, I always bring the very first video I did, or the first two. So before I even started coaching with John, way back then, I decided to do an open house video for my brother's house. I figured I'd be safe because it was my brother's house. I had bought a selfie stick a half hour before I was going to go live on my first Facebook Live 4 years ago or 5 years ago. So I buy this selfie stick. I don't even know how to use it. I'm standing on the sidewalk in this very upscale neighborhood in the Toronto beaches, and I start recording this open house video. So of course I'm walking backwards with a selfie stick, which you don't do. You should know what's behind you. So when I watch it later on, there's a huge set of stairs behind me, but I'm walking backwards toward the stairs. Obviously, if I can't see the stairs, I'm going to fall. So I'm doing live. I fall.
Oh my gosh.
Up, and then, of course, I swear. And so then I'm continuing going. And there's people walking by the sidewalk. I'm embarrassed. I'm smiling at the people. I'm trying to do the video. But it's very funny because the audience understands how I'm feeling at that moment, because that's how they feel. And my point of it is, that's where I started, walking backwards with a selfie stick, not knowing what I was doing. And here's where I am now. It's just a journey, and you learn from each one. I'll never, ever walk backwards with a selfie stick again, because I learned my lesson. So, you do one after another, and you learn, and you get better each time, because you watch it back. And I still watch back my videos, and I'll say, okay, next time I should do it this way, or next time I should do it this way. And they get better every time.
They do get better, but something you said is you have to go through the journey. You just can't all of a sudden go from 0 to 100.
No.
And it's like that in real estate as well.
Yes.
Okay, so if I'm doing say 30 sides a month. I just didn't pop up and do 30 sides a month, right? I had to start. There was a day when you had 0 sides, right? 0 transactions. And then what? Then you had 2 a month. Then you had 5. Then it's the same thing. You can't just pop into it. You have to go through the journey.
Yeah.
Follow the process. Learn from all the things that you've learned. Just like you said, you rewatched your video. and you said, maybe I should do this a little better. What
Mm-hmm.
else do you do? Okay, how do you look into the camera? Okay,
Right.
the phone number, the email, giving a call to action or not giving any call to action. Maybe it's just informational.
Yeah.
Because we don't always want to have an ask. That's only like 1 in 5 times or
Exactly.
you have an ask. Maybe
Mhm.
it's, I hardly ever have an ask. I probably need to do more asks, but mine are it's about educational, especially now because things are a little different, obviously, than they were 6 months ago with everything that's happening. But so if there's something that any agent could do right now to get started, how do they get the confidence to do it?
So this is what's interesting. This is actually a question I heard on a podcast, and I love it. And I've always remembered it. And they said, if you were dropped on an island where there was a neighborhood and you only had this amount of money and you had to get 5 listings, what's the one and only or 2 things that you would do? And this is very similar to your question. I would do video and I would promote it on Facebook. These 2 things are how I start all of my agents off who join my office. Because if you don't have a large sphere and if you don't have a lot of prospects, video will get you in someone's house faster than any other kind of prospecting that you could do, because they get to know who you are. And you do a market update, but then you support that market update with a business spotlight. And you show, I care about where I live. I love the community I live in. And let me showcase it for you. And by building slowly, this is where it all begins. But video by far will trump, in my opinion, almost any way of getting business out there. Because people get to know who you are before you walk in the door. There is a saying that says they get to experience you before they even experience you.
I love that. And it's something that whether you're a business owner listening to this or you're an agent or you're in sales, anywhere you deal with people, you're communicating with people. People want authenticity. They crave it.
Yes.
Right? And they want that more than ever. I've learned a lot from about you watching your videos, even though we met at the event and we spent time together, but you can get to know people from just watching your videos and and I see your stuff on Facebook. If I could cook those pastry things that you make like that, I can't eat them because I'm gluten-free, but I will tell you at Easter,
I had to stop eating them too.
When you made all that stuff, I was like, oh my gosh. I've actually, from COVID, I was a good cook, but I said to my husband the other day, I think I'm even a better cook now because right? We already had skills.
Yes.
I had time to advance my skills.
Yeah.
So that could be whether it's in business, whether it's in cooking, whether it's
anything,
whatever.
Yeah.
Right now is the time.
Yes.
I'm in some 40-some podcasts at this point, right? I didn't have any as of March 16th. I had 0. Didn't have the show.
Because that's how it works.
Right.
I haven't been in school in ages. During COVID, I decided to sign up for a grad course on top of everything else that I do, running a brokerage, training agents. I have a coaching company. I said, you know what? I want to learn more about women in leadership. I need to know more. I need to know the communication strategies. I need to know negotiation. I need to know all of that. So I signed up for a grad course at Cornell University. It's highly intensive, but it's what I felt that I wanted to do to enhance my skills, because I'm not going to enhance them sitting here doing nothing. No. You have to get it from all over the place all the time. And that's I'm kind of like that sponge where if I'm not moving forward, then I'm not growing.
No, you're either growing or dying. There's no static. There's no status quo.
Yeah.
Right. Because everything around us is continuing to happening. The course that you're taking at Cornell, is that a regular 3 credit college grad course, or
It's an executive grad course. There are 6 courses
Mm.
that I have to do in 4 months. And yeah, it's been interesting. It's really good because it's executive, meaning the cases that you bring in are your own experience, that you have to, you get the theory behind a negotiation between genders, for example, and then you bring in your own experience, and then you kind of take apart your experience. How did it go? What could I have done better? And everything is about what could I have done better? And this is what I love, because this is how I start off my Monday morning meetings every week with my agents. What were your wins and what were your learns? Because I don't believe failure exists. We learn every time we fail at something. So it's not a failure. Failure to me is such a negative word. So every week my meetings begin with, what did you win? What did you learn? And every week we do this. And what that also does is it brings the team members together, because they hear what I've won and what I've learned. I learn a lesson every week, whether it's in real estate, whether it's in coaching, whether it's in talking to people. So they can hear that I am not this perfect being. I am a person that's still learning and growing. I may be a little more advanced in my journey, but I'm still doing the learning like everybody else is. So when they hear each other's learns and wins, they get motivated because they think, I'm not by myself. I'm not on an island where this only happened to me and I should feel bad about it. It happens to everybody. So how do we learn from it? And now how do we move on from it? And every week we do the same thing. And it's what helps people grow.
Yeah, it certainly does. I love that. What are our wins and did we learn? Right?
Yeah.
You be the solution. Katherine, I could talk to you all day. We're like cut of the same cloth.
I think so.
This is fun. This is fun. Any other thing you want to tell our listeners that's really helpful and really important for business owners or agents today?
I think what's really important, and this is what I think I've learned over the last 4 months of being in quarantine and everything else, is get really clear on what's important to you and what your goals are. And goal, and this is what I tell my agents as well, your goal is not just business. Because if you can get your mindset right, and whether it's spiritual or physical or emotional, if you can get clear with all of that, everything else will fall into place. Because when something is off, then something's going to be off in your business. So when you wake up in the morning, have a goal for the day. I find a lot of people struggle getting through the day these days because of the unknown future. This idea of an unknown future, this is what I tell people, is that your future has always been unknown.
That's
we
very
never
true.
knew what it was going to be. So this day is no different from any other day you've ever had in your life. We've never known what was going to happen tomorrow. If we did, we would be very, very rich because we could tell everybody what to expect tomorrow. We don't know. You need to live life, your best life, and you can only do that by figuring out what that is for you. What do you truly want? What makes you happy? And if you don't know what makes you happy, you start figuring that out. But you can only do that by doing baby steps towards something. I was at home during COVID, and I kept saying to myself, I'm missing something. I need to do something. So I signed up for that grad course. In doing that grad course, I realized that this is what I needed. I needed a little more information. I needed to be taking in. I hadn't learned in a while. I had only been teaching. But what I realized about myself is that I need to keep learning from people. And if I'm not learning, then I feel like I'm not growing and moving. And I don't work well. I don't work as a tree. I've got to keep moving. So people need to find for themselves what that thing is that will wake you up in the morning. What is your desire? The desire is not money. The desire is something beyond that. So, and not to be fearful. Fear I got rid of back when I decided that I was going to move past what had happened to me and I was going to grow from it, that's where fear ended. That's why when I got into video, I remember saying to John, I said, I will commit to 12 months of this. That's it. But I'm giving you 12 months that I will do it consistently. I will do 4 a month for 12 months and I will not stop. And that's what made the difference, is that I committed and I didn't let myself down. Because at the back of my mind, had I not done my market report by, let's say, the 10th of the month, I knew it was like sitting here on my shoulder like a weight. I've got to do it. So commit to something and stick to it, because you will be so proud of yourself that you actually stuck to it. And then the confidence grows. And it's like a snowball, right? It snowballs now. So now confidence is built, consistency is built, now business is building, and then it just keeps going and getting better and better and better.
Yep. That's how it works. It keeps going, getting better. This was amazing today with you.
Thank you so much.
I thank you, Katherine, for being the solution and being such a strong woman and a powerhouse. And your enthusiasm is contagious. So I hope the people that work with you all know how amazing that you are. And it was great to spend time with you. I'm very grateful and appreciative of you taking the time out to be with us today.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate the invite. It's been wonderful chatting with you. I feel like it's just been us talking, but I'm sure that there were people watching.
There were people watching, people making comments. So yeah, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, drop your info in the comments, Katherine, so they can reach you. Okay.
Sounds good.
It was great to see you. I'll see you real soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.